Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Lashette from Star Moon Creations, and this is our Tuesday live stream. Journal with me. Today's journal with me will be my reading journal, and reading sprints. So we'll go ahead and play the intro while all the motorcycles are going past. So first, I forget every single time. I am so sorry that that volume is so loud. That was so loud. I will endeavor to remember. Hey, hey. I was saying I will endeavor to remember that later. When I'm doing the outro video. Though, for real though, I don't know if there's a way to lower the volume on these live streams. Good God. Oh, Lord help me. Um, Ooh, I was trying to look and see if I could lower the volume right now while I'm thinking about it for the outro. But I found that I'm ridiculous and have nothing. Not have nothing. I have, I don't know, issues. Welcome. We'll be doing reading sprints as well. So let me know what you're journaling or what you're reading in the comments at any point, or if you're watching the replay, you could do that at any point as well. So I don't know that live streams are something people really rewatch. So let me check YouTube to see how disastrous this has become. Yeah, so anywho, uh, I just started. Go away. Just started the audiobook for Brandon Sanderson's Wade and Truth, the fifth book in the Stormlight Archive. Finally, I have a physical copy as well, but I've had that for too long. Don't tell my library. And recently, the audiobook came, so I can meld the two, hopefully, to the best of my ability. I have some books that I'm not finished with yet, so we'll see how this goes. Anyway, so that's what I'll be listening to while I'm doing this. Um, the last few times I've done the reading journal. This is my reading journal. It's a cheapo. Uh, what to call it? I can't remember the name of this compositional book. Jesus, Jesus. Wow. I haven't updated this in a long time. I've been showing you guys my digital journal, which is fine. Problem with that being what it is. It is what it is. I've been using Samsung Notes with that, and that's been fun. However, my tablet is pretty much full, and I don't have drive to add more space to it. So, excuse me, I had to yawn. So I was thinking I should move it to Canva where I have my digital tarot journal going. And right now I can just move it as a PDF file. However, before I figured that out, I had to figure out the page size, which I was doing before we went live. Then I got distracted because I have a shadow care retreat coming up, and one of my co-hosts, the one in charge of that part, sent form I need to fill out. So, the 10 minutes I had to fill out a form didn't happen. All right, so, but I do need also to update my Herkiet spreads because they haven't been in here at all, and my Google Drive, my Google everything is pretty much full as well. I can't update the spreadsheet. I don't know. We'll see. Um, but yeah, the whole point was to have a physical, so I don't have to worry about always having space online or on a electronic device. Or if I want to go screen free for a day or a week or whatever, I don't have to worry about like not having access to my stuff. So here we are. Here we are. My Wondering What Herkiet is the hardest reading challenge you'll ever do. It's by QWordy or QWordy, QWORDY. Play on the QWERTY keyboard thing. They are a YouTube author as well. Yawn again. That sounded weird though. Author tuber. Pretty cool person. It's a year-long challenge. I'm not gonna get into it. I will add a link later. I don't want to say here. So we usually start off. Well, we usually do these as 45 minutes, right? Um, for journaling, that's a good amount. For reading, probably not, but you can go elsewhere if it really bothers you. Um, I have not eaten dinner yet, though. It's ready. It was ready an hour ago, but your girl, yeah, I'm just so used to at this point. I don't, I guess. Anyways, like I said, let me know what you're reading and or journaling doing for the first book. What is this? Okay. I'm gonna get the first banner ready. 45 minutes. Let's see. Let's say it's 10 past the hour. That will bring us to 55 past the hour. So for me, it is currently 7:10 p.m. EST, and if you're not in the EST, Eastern Daylight Time, that's why I put these banners up. But I will see you guys in 45 minutes. Let's go.
Said, right hand to his forehead, powerful chest, with some gray hairs. He pushed past Gavilar and threw himself into the seat by the desk. That poor chair. Why do you even care about them, Dalinar? Gavilar said, right hand to his forehead. Why do you? Dalinar demanded. This treaty, this sudden interest in their lands. What are you planning? Tell me. Dear blunt Dalinar, as subtle as a jug of one-eater white, and equally smart. Tell me straight, Dalinar continued. Are you planning to conquer them? Why would I be signing a treaty if that were my intent? I don't know, Dalinar said. I don't want to see anything happen to them. I like them. They're Parshmen. I like Parshmen. You've never noticed a Parshman unless he was too slow to bring your drink. There's something about these ones, Dalinar said. I feel a kinship. That's foolish. Gavilar walked to the desk and leaned down beside his brother. Dalinar, what's happening to you? Where is the Blackthorn? Maybe he's tired, Dalinar said, or blinded by the soot and ashes of the dead constantly in his face. Again, Dalinar whined about the rift. What an enormous hassle. The stories would be here soon, and then there was Thadikar. So many knives to keep balanced perfectly on their tips, lest they slide and cut Gavilar. He couldn't deal with Dalinar having a crisis of conscience right now. Brother, Gavilar said, what would Evie say if she saw you like this? It was a carefully sharpened spear slipped expertly into Dalinar's gut. The man's fingers gripped the table, and he recoiled at her name. She would want you to stand as a warrior, Gavilar said softly, and protect Alethkar. Dalinar whispered. She. Gavilar offered a hand and heaved his brother to his feet, then led him to the door. Stand up straight. Gavilar nodded, hand on the doorknob. Oh, Gavilar said, and brother, follow the codes tonight. There is something strange upon the winds. The codes said not to drink when battle might be imminent. Just a nudge to remind Dalinar that it was a feast and that there was plenty of wine on hand. Though Dalinar still thought no one knew he'd killed Evie, Gavilar had found the truth, which let him use these subtle manipulations. Dalinar was out the door a moment later, his lumbering, pliable brain likely focused on two things. First, what he'd done to Evie. Second, how to find something strong enough to make him forget about the first. When Dalinar was off down the hallway, Gavilar waved Tyrim close. The guard was one of the Sons of Honor, a group that was yet another knife Gavilar kept balanced, for they could never know he had outgrown their plans. Follow my brother, Gavilar said, subtly ensure that he gets something to drink, maybe leading to my wife's secret stores. You had me do that a few months ago, sire, Tyrim whispered back. There's not much left, I'm afraid. He likes to share with his soldiers. I'll find him something, Gavilar replied. I can let Restaries and the others in when they arrive. Go. The soldier bowed and followed Dalinar, sharp blade thumping. Gavilar shut the door firmly. When the Stonefather's voice pushed into his mind, he was not surprised. He has potential you do not see, that one. Dalinar. Of course he does. If I can keep him pointed the right direction, he will burn down entire nations. Gavilar simply had to ply him with alcohol the rest of the time so that he didn't burn down this nation. It could be more than you think. Dalinar is a big, dumb, blunt instrument you apply to problems until they break, Gavilar said, then shivered, remembering seeing his brother approach across a battlefield, soaked in blood, eyes appearing to glow red within his helm, hungry for the life Gavilar lived. That ghost haunted him. Fortunately, both Dalinar's pain and his addiction made him easy enough to control. Gavilar was soon interrupted by another knock. He answered the door and found nothing outside until the Stormfather hissed a warning in his mind, and he felt a sudden chill. When he turned around, old Thydekar was there. The Lord of Scars himself, a figure in an enveloping hooded cloak, tattered at the bottom. Storms. I was made promises, Thydekar said, hood shadowing his face. I've given you information, Gavilar, of the most valuable nature. In payment, I requested a single man. When will you deliver Restaries to me? Soon, Gavilar said. I am gaining his confidence first. It seems to me, Thydekar said, that you're less interested in our bargain and more interested in your own motives. It seems to me that I've directed you towards something valuable you've decided to keep. It seems to me that you play games. It seems to me, Gavilar said, stepping closer to the cloaked figure, that you're not in a position to make demands. You need me, so why don't we just keep playing? Thydekar remained still for a moment. Then, with a sigh, he reached up with gloved hands and took down his hood. Gavilar froze, for despite their several interactions, he'd never before seen the man's face. Thydekar was made entirely of softly glowing white-blue light. He was younger than Gavilar had imagined, in his middle years, not the wizened elder he'd seemed. He had a large spike, also blue, through one eye. The point jutted out the back of his skull. Was he some kind of spren? Gavilar, Thydekar said, take care. You're not immortal yet, but you've begun to play with forces that rip mortals apart by their very axii. Do you know what they are? Gavilar demanded, hungry. The most important words I'll ever speak? No, Thydekar said, but listen. None of this is what you think it is. Deliver Restaries to my agents, and I will help you recover the ancient powers. I've grown beyond that, Gavilar said. You can't grow beyond the tide, Gavilar, Thydekar replied. You swim with it or get swept away. Our plans are already in motion. Though to be honest, I don't know that we did much. That tide was coming regardless. Gavilar grunted. Well, I intend to. He was cut off as Thydekar transformed. His face melted into a simple floating sphere with some kind of arcane rune at the center. The cloak, body, and gloves vanished into wisps of smoke that evaporated away. Gavilar stared. That looked a lot like what he'd read of the powers of Lightweavers. Knights Radiant. Stidakar, I know you're meeting Restarius today, the sphere said, vibrating. It had no mouth. Prepare him, then deliver him to my agents for questioning. Or else. That is my ultimatum, Gavilar. You would not like to be my enemy. The sphere of light shrank and turned nearly transparent as it moved to the door, then bobbed down and vanished through the crack underneath. What was that? Gavilar demanded of the Stormfather, unnerved. Something dangerous, the spread replied in his mind. Radiant? No. Similar, but no. Gavilar found himself trembling, which was stupid. He was a storming king, soon to be a demigod. He had a destiny. He would not be unsettled by cheap tricks and vague threats. Still, he rested his hand against the desk and breathed deeply, his fingers disturbing scattered notes and diagrams from his wife's latest mechanical obsession. Not for the first time he wondered if Navani could crack this problem. He missed the way they'd once schemed. How long had it been since they'd all laughed together? He, Ela, Navani, and Toro. Unfortunately, this wasn't the kind of secret you shared. Ela or Satius would seize the prize from him if they could, and Gavilar wouldn't blame them. Navani, though, would she try to take immortality for herself? Would she even see its value? She was so clever, so crafty in some ways. Yet when he spoke of his goals for a greater legacy, she got lost in the details, refusing to think of the mountain because she worried about the placement of the foothills. He regretted the distance between them, that coldness grown over their relationship. Thinking of her sent a stab of pain into his heart. He should. Everyone you know will be dust by the time you return. Perhaps this way was best. He had plans to mitigate the length of his absence from this world, but they might take several tries to perfect. So fewer attachments seemed better, to allow for a cleaner cut, like one made with a sharp blade. He bent his mind to his plans and was well prepared by the time Restarius arrived. The balding man didn't knock. He peeked in, nervously checking each corner before he slipped through the door. He was followed by a shadow, a tall, imperious Makabaki man with a birthmark on one cheek. Gavilar had instructed the servants to treat them as ambassadors, but he hadn't yet had a chance to speak with this second man, whom he didn't know. The newcomer walked with a certain firmness, rigidity. He wasn't a man who gave way, not to wind, not to storm, and most certainly not to other people. Gavilar Corlin, the man said, offering neither a hand nor a bow. They locked stairs. Impressive. Gavilar had expected, well, someone more like Restarius. Have a drink, Gavilar said, gesturing toward the bar. No, the man said, without a thank you or compliment. Interesting. Intriguing. Restarius scuttled over like a child offered sweets. Even now, after joining this newest incarnation of the Sons of Honor, Gavilar found Restarius odd. The short balding man sniffed at each of the wines. He had never trusted a drink in Gavilar's presence, but always tested them anyway, as if he wanted to find poison to prove his paranoia was justified. Sorry, Restarius said, wringing his hands as he hovered over the drinks. Sorry, not thirsty today, Gavilar. Sorry. Gavilar was close to tossing him aside and seizing control of the Sons of Honor, except some of the others, like Amaram, respected him. Plus, why was Thydakar so interested in Restarius? Surely he couldn't actually be someone important. Perhaps his tall friend was the true power. Could Gavilar have been kept in the dark for 2 years about something that vital? I'm glad you were willing to meet, Restarius said. Yes, because, so, announcement. I have an announcement. Gavilar frowned. What is this? I hear, Restarius said, that you're looking to, restore the Voidbringers? You founded the Sons of Honor, Restarius, Gavilar said, to recover the ancient oaths and restore the Knights Radiant. Well, they vanished when the Voidbringers did. So if we bring back the Voidbringers, the powers should return. More importantly, he thought, the heralds will return from the land of the dead to lead us again, letting me usurp the position of one of them. No, Restarius said, uncharacteristically firm. I wanted the honor of men to return. I wanted us to explore what made those radiants so grand before things went wrong. He ran his hand through his thinning hair. Before I made them go wrong. Restarius wouldn't meet Gavilar's eyes. We should stop trying to restore the powers, Restarius said, his voice wilting, and glanced to his stern friend as if for support. We can't afford another return. Restarius, Gavilar said, advancing on the little man. What is wrong with you? You're talking about betraying everything we believe, or at least pretend to believe. Gavilar suddenly placed himself so he loomed over Restarius. Have you heard of a man named Thydakar? Restarius looked up, his eyes widening. He wants to find you, Gavilar said. I have protected you thus far. What is it he wants from you, Restarius? Secrets, Restarius whispered. I can't abide anyone having secrets. What secrets? Gavilar said firmly, making Restarius cringe. I put up with your lies long enough. What is going on? What does Thydakar want? I know where she is hidden, Restarius whispered, where her soul is. Ba Edo Mishram, granter of forms, the one who could rival him, the one we betrayed. Ba Edo Mishram? Why would Thydekar care about an unmade? It seemed such an oddly shaped piece of the puzzle. Gavilar opened his mouth to speak, but a hand squeezed his shoulder, fingers like a vice. Gavilar turned to see Rastaris' Makabaki friend standing behind him. What have you done? The man asked, his voice icy. Gavilar Kurlin, what actions have you taken to achieve this goal of yours, the one that my friend mistakenly set you upon? You have no idea, Gavilar said, meeting the stranger's eyes until the man finally released his grip. Gavilar took a pouch from his pocket, then casually spilled a selection of spears and gemstones onto the table. I'm close. Rastaris, you must not lose your nerve now. The stranger stared, his lips parting. He reached toward one of the spheres that glowed with a dark, almost inverted violet light. Impossible light, a color that should not exist. As soon as the stranger's fingers drew close, he yanked them away, then turned wide eyes on Gavilar. You're a fool, the man said. A terrible fool charging toward the ice storm with a stick thinking to fight it. What have you done? Where did you get void light? Gavilar smiled. None of them knew of the secret scholar he kept in reserve, a master of all things scientific, a man who was neither ghost blood nor son of honor, a man from another world. It is set in motion, Gavilar said, glancing at Rastaris, and the project was a success. Rastaris perked up. It was? Is that light? He turned to his friend. This could work, Nail. We could bring them back, then destroy them. It could work. Nail. Oh, storms. Gavilar knew, but tried to ignore that Rastaris pretended to be a herald to impress the others. The little man didn't know Gavilar had become familiar with the Stormfather, who had told him the truth, that the heralds had all long since died and gone to Braze. So was this stranger pretending to be Nalan, herald of justice? He had the right look. Many of the depictions were of an imperious Makabaki man, and that birthmark, it was strikingly similar to one on several of the older paintings. But no, that was ridiculous. To believe that, one would have to believe that Rastaris, of all people, was a herald. The stranger tried to stare Gavilar down, motionless, his expression cold, a monolith instead of a man. This is far too dangerous. Gavilar continued to hold his gaze. The world would bend to his desires. It always had before. But you are, the man eventually said, stepping back. The king. Your will is law in this land. Yes, Gavilar said. That is correct. Rastaris, I have more good news. We can move void light from the storm to the physical realm. We can even carry it between here and damnation, as you wanted. That's a way, Rastaris said, looking to Nail. A way, maybe to escape. Nail waved to the spheres. Being able to bring them back and forth from Braze doesn't mean anything. It's too close to be a relevant distance. It was impossible only a few short years ago, Gavilar said. This is proof. The connection is not severed, and the box allows for travel. Not yet as far as you'd like, but we must start the journey somewhere. He wasn't certain why Rastaris was so eager to move light around in Shadesmar. Thydekar wanted this information as well, a way to transport Stormlight and this new Void Light long distances. As he was contemplating that, Gavilar saw something. The door was cracked. An eye was peeking through. Damnation, it was Navani. How much had she heard? Husband, she said, immediately pushing into the room. There are guests missing you at the gathering. You seem to have lost track of time. He smothered his anger at her spying, turning to Rastaris and his friend. Gentlemen, I will need to excuse myself. Rastaris again ran his hand through his wispy hair. I want to know more of the project, Gavilar. Plus, you need to know that another of us is here tonight. I spotted her handiwork earlier. Another one. Another son of honor. No, he meant another herald. Rastaris was growing more delusional. I have a meeting shortly with Meridos and the others, Gavilar said, calmly soothing Rastaris. They should have more information for me. We can speak again after that. No, the Makabaki man growled. I doubt we shall. There's more here, Nail, Rastaris said, though he followed as Gavilar ushered the two of them from the room. This is important. I want out. This is the only way. Gavilar shut the door. Then he turned to his wife. Damnation, she should know better than to interrupt him. She storms. The dress was beautiful, her face more so, even when angry. Staring at him with brilliant eyes, a fiery halo almost seeming to spread around her. Once more he considered. Once more he rejected the idea. If he was going to be a god, best to sever attachments. The sun could love the stars, but never as an equal. Sometime later, after he'd seen to Navani, Gavilar slipped away again, to his chambers this time, where he could confront what he'd learned. Tell me, he said, walking across the springy carpet to regard the tabletop map of Roshar. Why is Thydekar so interested in Ba Edo Mishram? The Stormfather formed a rippling beside Gavilar, vaguely in the shape of a person, but indistinct, like the wavering in the air made by great heat on the stones. She created your Parshman by accident, he said. Long ago, just before the Recreants, Mishram tried to rise up and replace Odium, giving the Voidbringers powers. Curious, Gavilar said. And then, she fell. She was too small a being to uphold an entire people. It all came crashing down. And so some brave radiants trapped Mishram in a gemstone to prevent her from destroying all of Roshar. A side effect created the Parshmen. Simple Parshmen. They were void bringers. A delicious secret he'd pried out of the Stormfather some weeks ago. Gavilar strolled to the bookcase where one of the new heating fabrials had been delivered to him by the scholar Rusher Chris. He took it from its cloth casing, weighing it. He had found a way to ferry Voidspren through Shadesmar to this world using gemstones and aluminum boxes. Who would have thought Navani's pet area of study would be so useful? And if that conniving Axantweth eluded his grasp, he'd have to do the next part without her. He had his scholar, though in truth Gavilar was baffled by the light he was creating. Light that could somehow kill the Voidbringers? How had Vasher made? He thought he heard a faint crackling sound from the Stormfather. Lightning? How cute. You've never challenged what I'm doing, Gavilar said. I would have thought that returning the Voidbringers would be opposed to your very nature. Opposition is sometimes needed, the Stormfather said. You will need someone to fight should you become champion. Give it to me, Gavilar said. Now, make me a herald. I need it. The Stormfather turned a shimmering head in his direction. That was almost them. What, those? Gavilar said. A demand? So close, and so far. Gavilar smiled, hefting the fabrial and thinking of the flame spren trapped inside. The Stormfather seemed increasingly suspicious, hostile. If things did go poorly, could he trap the Stormfather himself in one of these? Soon Amaram arrived with a small collection of people. 2 men, 2 women. One man was Amaram's lieutenant. The other 3 would be new important Sons of Honor recruits invited to the feast and given exclusive time with the king after. It was an annoyance, but a worthy one. Gavilar identified the 2 women from the notes, but not the older man in robes. Who was he? A storm warden? Amaram liked to keep them around, to teach him their script, which preserved some semblance of Goran devotion. That was important to him. Gavilar met each guest in turn, and as he reached the older man, something clicked. This was Taravangian, the king of Kharbranth, famously a man of little consequence or aptitude. Gavilar glanced at Amaram. Surely they weren't going to invite him into their confidence. They should find the power who secretly ruled Kharbranth, likely to be one of 2 women per Gavilar's spy reports. Amaram nodded. So Gavilar gave his speech about ancient oaths of radiance, of glories past and futures bright. It was a good speech, but beginning to grate on him. Once his words had inspired troops, now he spent his entire life in meetings. After finishing, he let everyone get something to drink. Meritus, Gavilar whispered, pulling Amaram aside. These meetings are growing onerous. My experiment was a success. I have the weapon. Amaram started, then spoke softly. You mean? Yes. Once we bring back the Voidbringers, we will have a new way to fight them. Or a new way to control them, Amaram whispered. Well, that was new. Gavilar considered his friend and the ambition those words implied. Good for you, Amaram. We must restore the desolations, Gavilar said, whatever the cost. It's the only way. I agree, Amaram said. Now, more than ever. He hesitated. My efforts with your daughter did not go well earlier. I thought we had an understanding. You simply need more time, my friend, to win her over. Amaram hungered for the throne like Gavilar hungered for immortality, and perhaps Gavilar would reward Amaram with it. Elokar certainly did not deserve to be king. He was exactly the opposite of a legacy Gavilar wanted. He sent Amaram to talk to the others. Once they had enjoyed their drinks, Gavilar would give another short speech. Then he could be on to... He frowned, noticing that one of the new recruits wasn't conversing with the others. The elderly man, Taravangian, was staring at the map of Roshar. The others laughed at something Amaram said. Taravangian didn't even look toward the sound. Gavilar strode over, but before he could speak, Taravangian whispered, Do you ever wonder about the lives we're giving them, the people we rule? Gavilar was unaccustomed to people, let alone strangers, addressing him with such familiarity. But then, this Taravangian saw himself as a king, and perhaps as Gavilar's equal. Laughable that Taravangian ruled only one small city. I worry less about their lives now, Gavilar said, and more about what is to come. Taravangian nodded, appearing thoughtful. That was an inspiring speech. Do you actually believe it? Would I say it if I didn't? Of course you would. A king will say whatever needs to be said. Wouldn't it be grand if that were always what he believed? He looked at Gavilar, smiling. You truly believe the Radians can return? Yes, Gavilar said. I do. And you are not a fool, Taravangian said, musing. So you must have good reasons. Gavilar found himself revising his earlier opinion. A little king was still a king. Perhaps among all of the dignitaries in the city tonight, here was one who might, in the smallest way, understand the demands placed on the man pressed between crown and throne. A danger is coming, Gavilar said softly, shocked at his own sincerity. To this land, this world, an ancient danger. Taravangian narrowed his eyes. It's not just a desolation we must fear, Gavilar said. They come, the Everstorm, the night of sorrows. Taravangian remarkably grew pale. He believed. Gavilar usually felt foolish when he tried to explain the true dangers that the Stormfather had shown him, the contest of champions for the fate of Roshar. He worried people would think him mad. Yet this man believed him? Where, Taravangian asked, did you hear those words? I don't know that you'd believe me if I told you. Will you believe me? Taravangian asked. 10 years ago, my mother died of her tumors, frail, lying on her bed with too many perfumes, struggling to smother the stench of death. She gazed at me in her last moments. He met Gavilar's eyes, and she whispered, I stand before him, above the world itself, and he speaks the truth. The desolation is near, the Everstorm, the night of sorrows. Then she was gone. I've heard of this, Gavilar admitted. The prophetic words of the dying. Where did you hear those words? Taravangian asked, practically begging. Please. I see visions, Gavilar said, frank, given me by the Almighty, so that we may prepare. He looked toward the map. Herald send that I may become the person I need to be to stop what is coming. Let the Stormfather see sincerity in Gavilar. Suddenly Gavilar felt it. Standing there with this little king, he felt it. Never before, in all of this, had Gavilar ever suspected he might be inadequate to the task. Perhaps, he thought, I should encourage Dalinar to resume his training. Remind him that he is a soldier. Gavilar had the distinct impression that before too long he would need the Blackthorn again. Someone is approaching your door outside, the Stormfather warned. One of the listeners, Eshanai. There is something about this one. One of the Parshendi? Gavilar shook himself. He dismissed Taravangian, Amaran, and the others, happy to be rid of that strange old man and his questioning eyes. The fellow was supposed to be unremarkable. Why did he unnerve Gavilar? Eshanai entered as Amaran passed along his invitation. The conversation with the Parshwoman went smoothly, with him manipulating her, and therefore her people. to prepare them for the role they would play. After Gavilar grew weary at the feast once the treaty was signed, he retired to his rooms. He sank into a deep plush chair by his balcony, releasing a long sigh. Early in his career as a warlord, he had never allowed himself the luxury of softness. He had mistakenly assumed that liking something soft would make him soft, a common failing among men who wished to appear strong. It was not weakness to relax. By being so afraid of it, they gave simple things power over them. The air shimmered in front of him. A full day, Gavilar said. Yes. The first of many such, Gavilar continued. I will be mounting an expedition back to the Shattered Plains soon. We can leverage my new treaty to obtain guides, have them lead us inward to the center, toward Urithiru. The Stormfather did not reply. Gavilar wasn't certain the Spren could be said to have human mannerisms. Today, though, that turned-away posture hinted at in a warping of the air, that silence. You regret choosing me? Gavilar asked. I regret the way I have treated you, the Stormfather said. I should not have been so accommodating. It has made you lazy. This is lazy, Gavilar said, forcing amusement into his voice to hide his annoyance. You do not reverence the position you seek, the Stormfather said. I feel you are not the champion I need. Maybe I've been wrong all this time. You said that you were charged with this task of finding a champion, Gavilar said, by honor. That is true. I do not speak in human ways. But still, if you become a herald, you will be tortured between returns. Why is it this doesn't bother you? Gavilar shrugged. I will just give in. What? Give in, Gavilar said, heaving himself out of his seat. Why stay to be tortured and potentially lose my mind? I will give up each time and return immediately. The heralds stay in damnation to seal the Voidbringers away, to prevent them from overrunning the world. The heralds are the 10 fools for that, Gavilar explained, pouring a drink from the carafe near his balcony. If I cannot die, I will be the greatest king this world has ever known. Why lock away my knowledge and leadership? To stop the war. Why would I care to stop a war? Gavilar asked, genuinely amused. War is the path to glory, to training our soldiers to recover the Tranquiline halls. My troops should be experienced, don't you think? He turned back toward the shimmer, taking a sip of orange wine. I don't fear these Voidbringers. Let them stay and fight. If they are reborn, then we will never run out of enemies to kill. The Stormfather did not respond, and again Gavilar tried to read into the thing's posture. Was the Stormfather proud of him? Gavilar considered this an elegant solution. He was puzzled why the heralds had never thought of it. Perhaps they were cowards. Gavilar, the Stormfather said, I see my miscalculation. Your entire religious upbringing, created from the lies of a Har-Yat-Yam and honor's unfailings, it pointed you toward this conclusion. Damnation. The Stormfather wasn't pleased. It suddenly felt terribly unfair. Here he was drinking this awful excuse for wine to follow the ridiculous codes. He gave every possible outward show of piety, yet it wasn't enough. What should I do to serve? Gavilar said. You don't understand, the Stormfather said. Those aren't the words, Gavilar. Then what are the storming words? He said, slamming the cup down on the table, shattering it, splashing wine across the wall. You want me to save this planet? Then help me. Tell me what I'm saying wrong. It's not about what you are saying. But suddenly the Stormfather wavered. Lightning pulsed through his shimmering form, filling Gavilar's room with an electric glow. Blue frosted the rugs, pure light reflecting in the glass balcony doors. Then the Stormfather cried out, a sound like a peal of thunder, agonized. What? Gavilar said, backing up. What happened? A herald has died. No, I am not ready. The Oath Pact. No, they mustn't see. They mustn't know. Died, Gavilar said. Died? You said they were already dead. You said they were in damnation. The Stormfather rippled, then a face emerged in the shimmering. 2 eyes like holes in a storm, clouds spiraling around them and leading into the depths. You lied, Gavilar said. You lied? Oh, Gavilar, there is so much you do not know, so much you assume, and the two never do meet, like paths to opposing cities. Those eyes seemed to pull Gavilar forward, to overwhelm him, to consume him. He saw storms, endless storms, and the world was so frail, a tiny speck of blue against an infinite canvas of black. The Stormfather could lie? Arsaris, Gavilar whispered. Is he actually a herald? Yes. Gavilar felt cold, as if he were standing in the high storm, ice seeping in through his skin, seeking his heart. Those eyes. What are you? Gavilar whispered, hoarse. The biggest fool of them all, the Stormfather said. Goodbye, Gavilar. I have seen a glimpse of what is coming. I will not prevent it. What? Gavilar demanded. What is coming? Your legacy. The door slammed open. Sadius, his face red from exertion. Assassin, he said, waving Tirim in plate to tromp in. Coming this way. Killing guards. We need you to put on your armor. Tirim, get it off. We must protect the king. Gavilar looked at him, stunned. Then one word cut through. Assassin. I've been betrayed, he thought. and found that he was not surprised. One of them had been bound to come for him, but which one? Gavilar, Sadeas shouted. We need you in armor. Assassin on the way. Tyrion can fight him, Toril, Gavilar said. What is one assassin? This one has killed dozens already, Sadeas said. I think we should have you in plate just in case. You could wear mine, but my armorers are still bringing it. You brought your armor to the feast? Of course I did, Sadeas said. I don't trust those Parshendi. You'd do well to emulate me. Trusting too much could get you killed someday. Screams sounded in the distance. Tyrion, loyal as always, began removing the plate for Gavilar to don. Too slow, Sadeas said. We need to buy time. Give me a robe. Gavilar hesitated, then met his friend's eyes. You'd do that? I worked too hard to put you on that throne, Gavilar, Sadeas said, grim. I'm not going to let that go to waste. Thank you, Gavilar said. Sadeas shrugged, pulling on the robe as Tyrion helped Gavilar suit up. Whoever this assassin was, he'd find himself outmatched by a shard-bearer. Gavilar glanced toward where the Stonefather had been, but the shimmer was gone. Spren couldn't lie. They couldn't. He'd learned that from the Stonefather. Blood of my fathers, Gavilar thought as the plate locked onto his legs. What else did it lie to me about? Gavilar fell, and he knew as he fell that this was it, his ending. A legacy interrupted. An assassin who moved with an otherworldly grace, stepping on wall and ceiling, commanding light that bled from the very storms. Gavilar hit the ground, surrounded by the wreckage of his balcony, and he saw white in a flash. His body didn't hurt. That was an extremely bad sign. Thaitakar, he thought as a figure rose before him, shadowed in the night air. Only Thaitakar could send an assassin who could do such things. Gavilar coughed as the figure loomed over him. I expected you to come. The assassin knelt before him, though Gavilar couldn't see anything more than shadows. Then, the assassin, doing something Gavilar couldn't make out, again glowed like a sphere. You can tell, Thaitakar, Gavilar whispered. That is too late. I don't know who that is, the assassin said, the words barely intelligible. The man held his hand to the side, summoning a blade. This was it. Behind the assassin, a halo, a corona of shimmering light. The Stonefather. I did not cause this, the Stonefather said in his head. I do not know whether that brings you peace in your last moments, Gavilar. But then who? Gavilar forced out. Our stories, Sadeas. I never thought. My masters are the Parshendi, the assassin said. Gavilar blinked, focusing on the man once more as his blade formed. Storms. That was Jezreel's honor blade, wasn't it? What was happening? The Parshendi. That makes no sense. This is my failure as much as yours, the Stonefather said. If I try again, I will do it differently. I thought your family. His family. In that moment, Gavilar saw his legacy crumbling. He was dying. Storms, he was dying. What did anything matter? He couldn't. He was supposed to be eternal. I've invited the enemy back, he realized. The end is coming, and my family, my kingdom, will be destroyed without a way to fight. Unless, hand quivering, he pulled a spear out of his pocket. The weapon. They needed this. His son, no, his son could not handle such power. They needed a warrior, a true warrior, one that Gavilar had been doing his best to suppress, out of a fear he barely dared acknowledge even as he drew his last ragged breaths. Dalinar. Storms helped them, it came down to Dalinar. He held the sphere out toward the Stonefather, his vision buzzing. Thinking was difficult. You must take this, Gavilar whispered to the Stonefather. They must not get it. Tell my brother. He must find the most important words a man can say. No, the Stonefather said, though a hand took the sphere. Not him. I'm sorry, Gavilar. I made that mistake once. I will never trust your family again. Gavilar gave a whine of pain, not from his body, but from his soul. He had failed. He had brought them all to ruin. That, he realized with horror, would be his legacy. In the end, Gavilar Kholin, heir to the heralds, died, as all men ultimately must, alone. Day 1. Kaladin, Shallan.
Illustration. Star Spren. Description. A page from Shallan's sketchbook that contains a large black and white drawing of a star spren in Shadesmar. The spren is long and sinuous, with overlapping carapace plates that are dark on the top and light along its belly. It has 5 pairs of filmy wings spaced evenly across its length, and it is surrounded by bright gaseous swirls against a dark Shadesmar sky. A handwritten annotation at the top reads, "It seemed to strike a very distinct pose as I drew. Was that for me? How could it tell I was observing?" In the bottom left of the illustration is a small vignette of 2 lacy passion spren floating near each other. Below them is the annotation, "A perfect moment to hold forever." In the bottom right of the sketch is a frantic, less detailed sketch of an angular feminine face, topped with a jagged crown.
1. Unfamiliar ground. I should have known I was being watched. All my life, the signs were there. From Knights of Wind and Truth, page 1. Kaladin felt good. Not great, not after spending weeks hiding in an occupied city, not after driving himself to physical and emotional exhaustion, not after what had happened to Teft. He stood at his window on the first morning of the month. Sunlight streamed into the room around him, wind tickling his hair. He shouldn't have felt good. Yes, he'd helped protect Urithiru, but that victory had come at an agonizing cost. Beyond that, Dalinar had made a deal with the enemy. In just 10 days, the champion of honor and the champion of odium would decide the fate of all Roshar. The scope of that was terrifying, yet Kaladin had stepped down as leader of the Windrunners. He'd said the proper words, but had realized words alone weren't enough. While Stormlight healed his body instantly, his soul needed time. So if battle came, his friends would fight without him. And when the champions met atop Urithiru in 10 days, since the first day was underway, Kaladin wouldn't participate. That should have made him an anxious, stewing pot of nerves. Instead, he tipped his head back, sun warm on his skin, and acknowledged that while he didn't feel great, someday he would feel great again. For today, that was enough. He turned and strode to his closet, where he picked through stacks of civilian clothing, neatly laundered and delivered this morning. The city was a mere 2 days free from occupation, and the fate of the world approached, but Urithiru Urithiru's washwomen soldiered on. None of the clothes appealed to him, and shortly he glanced at another option, a uniform sent by the quartermaster to replace the one Kaladin had ruined during the fighting. Leighton kept a rack of them in Kaladin's size. Kaladin had stuck the uniform to the wall with a lashing last night, after Teft's funeral, as a test. Urithiru was awake, with its own bondsmith making things different. His lashings normally lasted minutes at best, yet here this one was, 10 hours later, still going strong. Without any thought for privacy. Today she appeared at full human size and wore a haba rather than her usual girlish dress. She'd recently learned how to color her dress, in this case mostly darker shades of blue with some bright violet embroidery on her sleeves. As Kaladin fastened the last buttons on the high collar of his uniform jacket, Syl bounced over to stand behind him. Then she fluttered a foot or so into the air to look over his shoulder and examine him in the mirror. "Can't you make yourself any size?" he asked, checking his jacket cuffs. "Within reason." "Whose reason?" "No idea," she said. "Tried to get as big as a mountain once. It involved lots of grunting and thinking like rocks. Really big rocks. The biggest I could manage was a very small mountain, small enough to fit in this room, with the tip brushing the ceiling." "Then you could be tall enough to tower over me," he said. "Why do you usually make yourself shorter?" "It just feels right," she said. "That's your explanation for basically everything." Yep. She poked him. He could barely feel it. Even at this size, she was insubstantial in the physical realm. "Uniform? I thought you weren't going to wear one anymore." He hesitated, then pulled the jacket down at the bottom to smooth the wrinkles across the sides. "It just feels right," he admitted, meeting her eyes in the mirror. She
Hello, 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 hello. And apologies, I'm just now realizing I don't think I muted this, so you got to hear all of the things, including my audiobook. Um, how was the sprint for you guys? Let me put here. Well, I don't know if I want to put that there actually. Kind of sort of highlighted this. I don't like the way it looks, but yeah, I did. Did I complete that? I think so. I completed the rainbow challenge, definitely. I need to film some last clips and I can post it. I actually have not completed the Queer Rainbow Challenge. I realized I have one more book. So, this is, you see this? Going as well. It doesn't help that, like, I've been barely reading. I have so many of these halfway done, so whatever. Nothing changed here. I penciled in some more pinks, whites, and browns. So there's that. I really like that. I was trying to look for my reds, oranges, and yellows, but could not for the life of me. I had to go off camera to try and see my spreadsheet. It will not open on the tablet, which is highly annoying. Let me see. I know I have more reds, definitely, because I know I have more clips on my thing. But yeah, so this is the rainbow challenge I said I finished, and it's done. The A to Z challenge, I added one more book. No, two books. I haven't been working on this Queer Rainbow Challenge I have been working on, and yeah, like I said, I have one more book. I penciled in everything. Well, I guess I have two for questioning. I mean, for pansexual, which technically goes with bisexual in this. It's only 7 prompts, not 8, but I challenged myself. For spelling my full name, there was an update of this since the last time I showed it, I believe. I don't think I actually showed this, but first I had these 3 like flip up tabs with my name on it in order, and then I was like, yeah, it might have been someone in the Discord for this challenge. Keyword is this Discord. I think I saw somebody else's, and they just put them in the alphabetical order, the letters of their name, their full name, and I was like, I should do that. So that's what happened here. So I've got some books filled in. I'm not trying to use the same ones that are in the A to B challenge. This is gonna be an issue. But yeah, I've added some here. The genre challenge I was just about to add 2, but I couldn't remember what books I've read for what thing. Let's see. Got Forgotten in Death is my mystery. This Beneath the Trees is my horror. Malice is fantasy. I'm almost done with my nonfiction. None of these are great. Like literally, I think I have 20 pages left for my nonfiction. I'm just dragging it out. But yeah, I've already picked the other John. Well, except for fiction. So we'll see. Yeah. I could just put it here. Yes. Fifth bowl finalist I haven't even picked out, or it's supposed to be non-finalist. My winter book I finished. It took me literally all winter. Don't ask. And I have to figure out what book I'll be reading for spring. I have to read a spring book in spring. So if you have any suggestions, let me know. And then here on the bookshelf with the rest of the prompts, which are like 5 or less books, I've added a couple of things. 2 books out of the 3 that I know the main characters. The first book for blurb books, this is actually the original. And yeah. I need to put in the 5 small booktuber Rex. I already have one. I thought a long time ago that I had the recipe book, so I had to use that for um names I know. And my other option wound up being not so great and also more difficult. So I don't know. We'll see how this goes. Okay. So that was that. Oh, I finally have this book so I can read it. Jesus. I have read this one. Read this one. That one. The one up to. Oh, I've got Old Town as well, so I can read that one finally. I do believe I did this. Oh, these two now. Oh my god, do I have the bone season twice? Well, no, I don't have the bone season. I have the bone season twice. I gotta get rid of that and put something else there. Oh, I think. Oh, this book came out, so I can get that. And I don't know how to. Yeah, so that's that. And I know I still haven't, wore this either. So we just ignore it and move right along. I don't know if I'm going to put these in here, to be perfectly honest. So that's that. Physically, I'm not in the mood. I just really wanted to update my thing here. My Herkid prompts. Okay. Oh yes, I do want to check real quick to see how the video's looking. See how the video's looking. Okay, you guys remember to hydrate and stretch and hit the the like button, I should say. Okay. Kind of sort of planned out some things. Anyway, Canva. I might have deleted it. I can't remember. Yeah, we're gonna do another 45-minute sprint and a couple of minutes. Let me see what the time is. Oh, when did that happen? Sorry, you guys. I didn't know that occurred. Hold on. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. Didn't realize. Did not realize. Okay. Let's go into our next sprint. Uh, we'll be back at 53 past the hour. We'll see you then. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back, everyone. How was that sprint for you guys? I have made it. What was I gonna say? 4% into Wind and Truth. This is a 63-hour audiobook. I'm not going to pull out the physical copy because it's ridiculous. But it started out with Brandon Sanderson talking about this is the longest book I've ever written, which makes sense. I have not been able to do too much with this digital journal. And so I'm frustrated. I think this is going to be the last sprint. I don't have anything really to put into the physical journal, at least not that I want to do right now. The phone battery's at 33%, which is not a surprise. That's basically how these things go. I was able to delete some things, so there's that. Filling in some March things. I did finish that and that. Yeah, nothing too crazy. I know I want to put videos here, so I'm just gonna do that right now. Write videos. Write videos. I don't know. It's not recognizing downstrokes, I guess. Like I said in the beginning, this thing is so full. I need to do something. I did post some videos this month. As for the decor, the setup for April, I don't know. Let's see what I still have on here in the gallery. Or maybe I should move everything to OneDrive. Okay. Some gallery features may not work. It's April. I quite honestly don't even know what to do. Oh, I don't even put anything. April. Let me know what you guys were able to read and or journal about during this sprint. This is gonna be the last one. Remember to stretch and relax and stretch. Hydrate. No. Hit the like button if you're watching the replay. Gardening Day. Scottish American Heritage Month. I didn't know that. Children's Book Day, sourdough. Gardening Day. I guess I can go with that. Off camera, I can believe because I don't think I need anything else here. Look at us. Look at us. I don't know what this is going to look like, but. Alright, guys. Yeah, I'm kind of tired, even though keeping it real, I didn't do much today. Oh, one other thing I need to add. Yeah, I think keeping it simple is nice, actually. Let's just do that. Have it nicely framed. And I can add some marks on there. Yes, gotcha. Move here to here. And yes, we gonna crop till we get to April. See, if I do this, I want something pretty. Oh no. I don't love it. Surprisingly. I don't know that. Ooh, those other things. Yeah, those are not here. To see about OneDrive, maybe. Yeah, I don't think those are there either. So, never mind. Move forward. And it's, I don't know, I'm gonna leave like that. Stats. Again, stats. Stats will go here. And the other stuff will take care of itself, I think. Yeah, I think. Oh yes, guys, that is all for me. Let's try to do the outro video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.